Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1979 Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Now the standard Sunbeam was produced between 1977 and 1981. Initially it was made by Chrysler's Europe division, but in 1979 Chrysler Europe were bought out by PSA, owners of Peugeot and Citroën among others. And all of Chrysler's European cars were renamed Talbots. Chrysler had commissioned this car though before the takeover, so that's why there was a 2-year gap between the standard version coming out and this version coming out. But yeah, the only difference between this and the original commissioned version is the badging. Everything else is as Chrysler wanted from Lotus. So they commissioned this to get into rallying, and as a result this gained stiffer suspension, a larger anti-roll bar, a larger transmission tunnel, a ZF gearbox, and a larger engine. And also got those rally covered headlights up, new paintwork, new wheels, and like I said, larger engine, which is a 2.2 litre inline 4 engine producing 148 horsepower and 150 pounds-feet of torque, which is fairly decent for a naturally aspirated inline 4 engine from the late 70s. And unlike a lot of hatchbacks, this is rear-wheel drive, so that obviously doesn't mean that it's got all that much space in the rear. As you can see, there were hot hatchbacks from the day that had more spacious rear ends, but that does mean it's more dynamically way better than anything from a front-wheel drive Volkswagen Golf or anything like that in terms of performance and handling. And the rally trim itself had 250 horsepower, so this didn't have all that much less horsepower than its rally version. And despite only being around for 4 years, 200,000 Sunbeams were sold. Not quite sure how many in this variant were sold, but certainly enough for them to be allowed to go rallying. And I really do like this car. Sure, it's not the first rear-wheel drive hot hatchback that was ever made. The Vauxhall Chevette HS was the first of that kind, though that only had 135 horsepower and wasn't really quite as well refined as this car, because they did more than just bung a big engine in it like they did with the Vauxhall Chevette. They obviously, like I said earlier, upgraded the suspension and the handling, and as well as obviously giving it far more power, because the most powerful version of the Talbot Sunbeam was 100 horsepower from a 1.6 litre engine. So quite a big difference in performance, and those handling upgrades certainly made it handle a lot better as well. But let's get out onto the open road and see just how good this car is. Now obviously the horsepower and torque levels of this car aren't really a match for modern day hot hatchbacks, but considering this car only weighs 2,116 pounds, you have to say that's a fairly decent amount of power. And you also have this really rather charismatic Lotus engine, which as you can see revs up to 7,000 RPM, which gives it certainly a distinctive sound over other hot hatchbacks from the time. If there's ever one criticism I have of the likes of Volkswagen Golf or other hot hatchbacks from the time, is that their engines could sound better. But this doesn't just have a good sounding engine, it also has the rear wheel drive dynamic aspect going for it, and really rather decent acceleration as well for a car from the time. 0 to 60 in 7.417 seconds, 0 to 100 in 20.417 seconds, and it will go into a top speed of 121 miles an hour. Now granted, that top speed isn't all that great. Again, probably our faster cars from the time that are as practical and as usable as this, and because it has a Lotus engine that is far from the most mass-produced engine from the time, it did have reliability issues. But it's as far as driver cars go that are practical and mostly usable on a day-to-day basis, is easily one of the best out there. And despite being from the late 70s, it certainly doesn't roll around as much as you would expect. If you've ever seen a Vauxhall Chevette, for instance, in the HS version, drive around, then you'll see that car rolls around a hell of a lot more than this. And I also think this looks better than the Chevette. Don't quite look as good as a Volkswagen Golf, but has more power and that rear wheel drive to make up for it, as well as obviously this better sounding engine. And this also has some rally pedigree going for it, because like I said, it was made for rallying, and it won the World Championship, I think in 1981 or 1980, one or the other. But yeah, that certainly gives it an edge in terms of, you know, respectability in the motor racing world. So yeah, I really do like this car. It's a shame that this car hasn't been featured on more Forza games. I think it's only been on one other racing game in the Forza series, to be honest. But yeah, it's well worth giving it a go if you haven't already. I think it's part of the car pass or some other DLC. But yeah, it's well worth giving it a go, because yeah, it's unfortunately been lost to history really in terms of hot hatchbacks. Because if you think hot hatchbacks from the time, you automatically think of Volkswagen Golf. You don't necessarily think of this, because yeah, it's far from the prettiest of cars. It didn't sell all that well, and yeah, certainly wasn't going to be anywhere near as reliable as a Golf. But in terms of drivability and performance and fun factor, it does outshine the Golf. But obviously the Golf sold in millions of numbers, and yeah, was the darling of everything and everywhere. And yeah, this, like I said, even in the standard version only sold around 200,000, which really isn't all that much, even if it is only a 4-year period. But yeah, and I imagine they didn't sell anywhere near that in terms of this variant. I imagine it was only in the hundreds, doubt it would be in the thousands. So yeah, quite a rare car and quite a forgotten car, but not for any deserved reasons, to be honest. And yeah, certainly is a good car to drive. And yeah, I'm glad it is getting some recognition on this game, but again, deserves to be on more games, quite frankly, because yeah, it's easily one of the best hot hatchbacks of its time. And yeah, just showed that yeah, if you know you combined, you know, Chrysler big money with Lotus know-how and engineering, then you can get a cracking little car. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.